So, Demon Slayer is unquestionably the biggest manga of this generation, and may very well be on its way to becoming the biggest of all time. Koyoharu Gotsuge and his team at Shonen Jump deserve all the credit in the world for creating something that's captivated minds across the world. But Demon Slayer, as well as it follows the standard tried and true shonen formula, has its missteps. And one of those missteps is the character of Zenitsu. After rereading through the manga and examining Zenitsu's best moments, I can't help but feel that he's the least compelling character in the story. Now, a lot of the discourse surrounding Zenitsu's character centers around his personality. Things like his treatment of women, his cowardice, and his tendency to whine and scream whenever he faces any adversity, and all of those things are worth discussing, but for this video I wanted to center my focus on his gimmick. While Zenitsu is normally a cowardly crybaby, when he's asleep he inexplicably turns into a powerful badass who's able to take on most demons with ease despite only having access to a single technique. This gimmick persists through the bulk of the series, and it just doesn't work. If you asked me to point to one of Zenitsu's best scenes, I'd point to when he protected Nezuko's box from Inosuke, going as far as placing himself between Inosuke and the box in order to protect it. He did so, even without knowing what was inside, because he understood how much it meant to Tanjiro. This scene works because it showcases a genuinely caring side to Zenitsu, and a willingness to sacrifice his own comfort and safety to protect something dear to another person. The most important part of this scene is that Zenitsu is actively choosing to do good, and that's where his sleeping state ruins things. First off, his sleeping state is nonsensical and barely explored. Initially, I compared it to something like Ultra Instinct, where Goku lets go of his earthly desires and acts purely on instinct. Then I considered the idea that he might have some kind of personality disorder. I mean, he's having full-on conversations while asleep and showcasing signs of intelligence, so he can't just literally be asleep, right? But no, he is. And the biggest issue that this presents is that in this state of unconscious combat, Zenitsu is not choosing to do good or making brave decisions. He's entirely unaware of what he's doing, and thus he's effectively incapable of growing from his experiences. Look at his battles at Mount Nagamoto and in the Red Light District. They could have easily been moments for Zenitsu to realize he's a legitimately strong fighter and motivate him to further hone his talents. But because he's completely unaware of his actions, he can't. Almost every heroic thing he does happens to be completely out of his control, so when he finally gets to his climactic battle against Kaigaku, I don't get the feeling that Zenitsu has improved whatsoever. But hey, he spends the first half of the Red Light District arc around women who live there. Perhaps this could be used as development for Zenitsu to better respect people like Nezuko and the girls at the Butterfly Estate in the future, right? Well, I guess not, because not much is done here. Part of what makes him so insufferable is how he treats others, but he can't fully improve on this because after Daki kidnaps him, he just reverts into unconscious combat for the rest of the arc. The way this form works is so vague that I can't buy Zenitsu's character development because he's not going out of his way to grow by having some unconscious form from beyond doing it for him. And that leads me into Kaigaku. At the end of the Hashira training arc, Zenitsu goes through a major change upon receiving news that his master, Jigoro, committed seppuku. Why? Because one of his former students, Kaigaku, has become the new Upper Moon 6. So, we learn of Kaigaku early on when he throws a peach at Zenitsu in a flashback, and he makes a quick cameo in the anime, but beyond that, we don't really see much of him. So Kaigaku is a direct antagonistic force to Zenitsu, but he's brought up only once or twice before his reveal, and he's not someone who helps us better understand Zenitsu through the narrative contrasting the two throughout the story. He just kind of appears. And by the time we actually see Kaigaku's true nature, Zenitsu has already gone through a full 180 in terms of personality and become a serious demon slayer. And Kaigaku is obviously the catalyst for all of this, but I'm not interested in it because Kaigaku at this point is just another random demon slayer turned to demon. Not to mention how quickly he dies without achieving much of anything. Gotsuge made the guy who's responsible for Zenitsu's greatest character growth more of a footnote than anything important. And up to this point, Zenitsu's done almost nothing to really make up for how insufferable his character has been consistently throughout the series. And now he's just a different person. Chapter 145 tries its hardest to build Kaigaku's character and showcase how his environment made him different than Zenitsu, and I think it has some good ideas, but it's too little too late. He literally dies in the same chapter. Their entire fight only lasted for a chapter and a half. Kaigaku was instrumental for Zenitsu's sudden development, and yet his exit from the story leaves everything feeling just as jarring as before. Zenitsu literally developed a new form of thunder breathing to fight alongside Kaigaku. But when? Why? Where? We don't see Zenitsu do this, and we don't really know about his relationship with Kaigaku until after they're already fighting. The 7th form could have been used as a marker for his growth, but we keep getting so little that it all just feels bland. This all leads back to his sleeping form. Zenitsu only really shows confidence and heroism when he's not aware of what's happening or capable of making his own decisions. So the development of the 7th form comes out of nowhere because Zenitsu is mostly portrayed as hilariously incompetent. The 7th form should and could have been a brilliant display of Zenitsu beginning to grow and using his own strength and techniques. Have him talk with Tanjiro and Inosuke about his sleep in combat. Have him realize his own strength and have him actively working to master it. Instead of just firing off arc after arc of Tanjiro encountering upper moons, let's showcase Zenitsu trying and failing to follow in his master's footsteps, before reinventing thunder breathing in his own way. Zenitsu's character begins as insufferable and he doesn't really grow. His flaws are just kind of dropped later during the final arc because of a character we're largely unfamiliar with and don't really get time to know. And that's kind of all he gets. Those 2 chapters. It honestly felt like the writer had no idea what to do with Zenitsu, so they just threw in the elements of the fractured character arc at the last moment to try and make up for it. The fact that Zenitsu's best moments come when he's unconscious is really damning for his character and detrimental to crafting any potential arc. He feels like comic relief and some cool moments right up until the manga's endgame, but by then it's all too little too late, and I can't come to appreciate Zenitsu at all by the time the story ends. But that's all for now. If you enjoyed the video, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out, and I'll see you guys next time.